Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Guys, another solid day in community. After a slow start of the week, today we finally nailed it. Most of the community was green today. Most of only like 11% or some people were red. I'll show you later. But a lot to recap, a lot of plays, a lot of winners and repeatable setups. Let's start. Before I start, let's do a quick introduction. So this introduction for anybody who's new to me, new to my YouTube, new to my Twitter, or new to my community. These recaps and teachings are from the trades. Any trades I give on our community, any ideas of our trading on a trading floor our traders are taking, any ideas I share on Twitter, any ideas I share with you guys on YouTube and in my community, be it a day trade, swing trade, or any investment idea, we go back and see what were the repeatable setups we played, what were our winners, what were our losers. We do not trade random. We always trade with a fixed repeatable system that we can repeat rest of our trading career. So every morning before the market opens, few hours before market opens, we go through all the news sources, up gappers, down gappers. We look at what is moving and we come up with the game plan. The game plan for today was the game plan. As you see in the front, there was a lot of news on Taiwan Semiconductor, Qualcomm, Intel, Spot, Baba, Play, Reddit, Tesla, Apple, NVIDIA, Meta. So these were all those plays, and we also share what we call as the daily levels. So these were the daily levels that we provide the community so we can trade on their own. You will see how these levels were on SPY and QQQ really helped for the SPY and QQQ breakouts. Even on NVIDIA and even on Meta, these levels were solid and helped a lot of traders to trade on their own. We provide that everything this morning. And also what we do is we provide the setup that I call day 2, day 3 setup. Today there was a lot of plays on day 2, day 3 setup, like RH. Lily was our main winner on the day 2 setup. Micron was another big winner on the day 2 setup. We will recap all of these and see how they all worked out. So that's the introduction. Let's start with the first play we are going to recap from today's game plan is play. So play, Dave Investors. It was a long for us all day. Let's go back, look at our daily plan. What was our plan on play? So Dave and Buster was up on a strong Q4 margin growth, share buyback. We were bullish as long as over the 65, under 65 was the gap fill, 65 was a support pivot, resistance pivot was 69 for us on play. As soon as the market opened, I see the strength on the PayPal. I see that, I take a long. I was a little bad entry, but that's fine because that bad entry worked out for me with 1 risk to 2 reward. You can see here I said long because I saw the strength breaking out. My risk was right here, the low of the day. It never pulled back. If it had pulled back, we would have watched the 65 as a risk, but it was long, the morning long. That's where we longed it. You can see my entry. I was at little later 1648. Here it was my entry. My target was 70. We almost hit the target. We were short by 18 cents, but again, you can see how nice the daily breakout was. So the daily chart is very important for these long trades. So that's why I was very confident on this trade on play. I was guiding the community all day on play as well. You can see that there were a lot of price alerts going on the breakouts. And once I was out when this 512 broke down, but a lot of traders were still trading it. For me, it was just the morning trade taken at 67.50. I sold everything closer to 70, almost got $2 there. I risked like $1, so 1 risk, 2 reward. Did not trade options on it, but it was a decent win today on play. So next one we're going to look at is Intel. So what was the play on Intel? Let's check it out. So Intel, I was short. I was bearish buys today. So let's see what was Intel doing. So Intel was, the plan on Intel was pretty straightforward. Their hefty loss in the chip making unit, support was 41.45. The resistance was 42.20. Bearish buys to short the pops. So you can see here, that's what I'm saying, bearish buys to short the pops. So as soon as the market opened, I shorted. I take 42 puts. My puts went to 35%, 36%, that's where I locked most profit. Then when market was bouncing, we were just careful because it was making higher lows, and our stops was over the EMA clouds. We're ready to stop out because, right, I locked most of my profit. The rest of my stops were 41.50. You can see that 41.50. 512. That's where my stops were. So that's where my stops were, but it never stopped us out. Even when market was so bullish, Intel was still heavy, could not move with the market, still under 512. I gave the 40 target, and by end of the day we almost got the 40 target. Most of my profit was logged in the morning at 36%, but those 42 puts ended up going over almost 80%. So that was really good trade for us all day. Nice winner. Most of the profits, I said, was in the morning, but you could ride it all day. It never stopped us out. Easy play. Bearish 1 hour, bearish 10 minute, bearish daily. That's how you execute high probability short trades, and today it was Intel. So next one we're going to talk about is DELL. DELL is also our existing swing. I share all my swings in a swing tracker. We do not take too many swings, but most of our swings, when we take it, we make sure they are good winners for us. So let me show you how the DELL, what was the DELL swing first, and then we'll talk about the day trade later. So here was the DELL swing, right? So if I go back, let me just go back. The first when I alerted the DELL swing. So started the DELL swing in the community at 109 because of this gap. So you can see this gap, repeatable setup. That's what I cover in my webinars on secret of swings webinar that I have. I covered these. So gap, this was the gap, this was our risk, $4 risk, 109, $4 risk, and we made over $16. Four times our risk was the reward. So let's see. So you can see here DELL. Then you can see continue to move. Another reason to take the DELL was it had good earnings and it was coming back to the support. You can see they were buying, and there was also 20 EMA there. So that was the reason to take this swing. So let's go. So this was the first part of the swing. Let's go and see the next one. And DELL was continuously moving. I was continuously updating on the swing. My first target was 121. That's what I gave everybody, 121. And today we met our 121 target, and we logged 60% of profits there at 121. And I told everyone we should see 130. So we should see 130. Let's look at it. And by end of the day, we met 130. So that was a profitable swing. Almost 80% of the profits logged. Huge win for the community. So we can look at from the day trade perspective, because there was 125 calls coming in. And that's what I told everybody, that 125 calls are coming in on DELL. So a lot of traders in the community was doing a day trade on it as well. 128 was the target I gave in the morning. We hit 128. Then I said lock most as we pushed to 130, 131. 130 was almost short by 24 cents, but I think we hit that tomorrow. DELL is just breaking out. We can break out more tomorrow. And for the day trades, you were supposed to be out when at 512 breaks. But as you can see, great trade, great swing trade, repeatable setup, nothing gut feeling, because of a reasoning, because of a setup, before and after. Learn it, and maybe you will find the next swing and share with me. Let's go to the next one. So the next one we're going to discuss is Meta. So let's look at Meta. So what was the plan on Meta today, right? Before I even show you my guidance, my timestamped guidance, let's go back, look at our morning levels on Meta, right? So Meta was 497, 500. I told everybody to trade versus 500. 497 support, 500 resistance pivot. My old followers know that hundreds of times I've talked about these psychological levels, trade versus 500. Check the level sheet. Even the level sheet had the same levels, right? The level sheet had same levels as 500. And as soon as I saw the strength in the morning, because market was breaking out, right? So we will talk about the market breakout in the end. Market was breaking out, and we saw that strength on Meta, and that's where I said long versus 500. If market pushes, it will help Meta. And then there was a flag on Meta. Then there was a flag breakout. I talked about this flag breakout in the community, and Meta flag needs to break out. And 508 was my target, and we met almost close to that target. Some of the traders in the community are swinging it. Meta is at 510 after hours. Beautiful day trade. If you are swinging it, your risk is 3450. Well done. I got out everything at 512 break, but good for everyone in the community. Really nice one. And this is the reason, right? So you see so many trades. Only 11% people were red in the community today. Just 11% people were red. All right, let's go next one. Next one we traded was Lilly. So everybody knows Lilly was one of our top watch on our day 2 setup. Support was 762, resistance was 768. These were our two levels that we were trading with. As soon as the market opened, I saw superb strength on Lilly, and Lilly started to break out of our pivots that I gave everyone. 768 pivot was broken. That's where I said it's going to go, and that's where you could trade lotos or shares, whatever you want. Your risk is defined 766 or even 768, and that's when I told everybody day 2 over our levels. The target I gave was 780. Next two targets I gave were 785 and 788, and as you see, we met all our targets. 785 met, 788 target met. Slow and steady, all our target mets, and that's where you were supposed to get out. Yeah, 788 was short, but anyways, you leave runners for the next target. If next target doesn't meet, that's fine. You cut when it breaks out there. So that was Lilly. Next one we're going to look at is Taiwan Semiconductor. So let's go back and see what was our plan on Taiwan Semiconductor. What was actually the plan we were trading on Taiwan Semiconductor? So Taiwan Semiconductor, so there was an earthquake in Taiwan, which the things were gapping down. Plan was to only long if 139, it gets over 139. So that was the plan on Taiwan Semiconductor. So because I also mentioned, a lot of these news get bought up. It's an earthquake, but doesn't mean that companies completely getting destroyed, right? So we need to have an open bias. So that's what happened when Taiwan right away pushed over that 139 level I gave everyone. I told them it's bullish, do not short. So we don't short. If there's a no short, there's no short. The setup says bullish, it's bullish, and it filled the gap. It went on to go to yesterday's highs over 143. So it was a decent long for in the community. A lot of traders did really good on Taiwan Semiconductor today. So that was the solid play. Sony, Doc Brown, a lot of our traders were trading Taiwan Semiconductor. So that was solid one there. The key here to understand is you don't short blindly just because it's gapping down. When the first candle, immature candle, is over the clouds, that's the bullish move. So we didn't lose money shorting, right? Even if you long, that's fine, but at least you didn't long it. So that was the plan in the pre-market, to not short if it gets over 139. All right, let's look at our next trade. Our next trade in the community was NVIDIA. So what was the special about NVIDIA today? Let's go back, look at our levels. Our levels on NVIDIA today were 892 was resistance, and then 900 psychological resistance. But as soon as the market was showing me strength, there was a lot of flow started to come in. 900 calls started to pour in on NVIDIA, and that's when I told, because I'm on voice first few hours, so I tell our community that we can definitely get 900 there because of the flow. We keep eyes on flow. We have 3 flow scanners running all day. They have their my settings, the settings I have on NVIDIA. I share that in the community, settings on the flow. So that NVIDIA flow was coming in. Everybody was not watching that NVIDIA flow, and that's everybody traded, right? It turns over the cloud for 892s, and it goes all the way to 900, and then there was a breakout over 904 that I told everyone, this one, right? Room to 903.40s. We met that target. So 900 the first target, 903.40 the second target. All my targets met. And not only that, when it faded 512, I told everyone that if it 512 breaking, it's gonna pull to 34.50. So there was a nice little short scalp as well from 512s to 34.50. So you see how that was a long trade in the morning and you could scalp, right? So your entry has to be the best entry. If you're adding anywhere in between, your risk is more than your reward. So these morning entries that we got as when at 10 a.m. with the market breakout was best, right? Market was breaking out, and you could literally long any of the tech, and NVIDIA had flow. So that was good. So that's how we long NVIDIA. Big winner for the community as well. So next one we're going to look at is Qualcomm. So why are we looking at Qualcomm? So Qualcomm, same thing. It was like Taiwan Semiconductor. I said if it's under 170, we are bearish. Resistance pivot 170.50. So the rules are, if it gets over 170.50, that's where you long. And so when we long that, it was just like Taiwan Semiconductor. It goes over 170, no short. It's a long. See, I told everyone 170 from the game plan, and Taiwan Semiconductor went on to go to 174.50. There are so many plays today. You don't have to play everything. You just have to play few of those and nail them. So Qualcomm was another example of respecting the pivots, watching the market strong. The key today was the bullish breakout on the market. That was this breakout. That's why we were long on everything. That's why most of our community was green, only 11% were red, because there were opportunities to make money on any of these stocks, and all of these stocks from our game plan. There's a reason we have these stocks on our watch list. So next one we're going to look at is AMD. So this is another the same example of long any tech, right? We saw there's a flow on AMD, and AMD and NVIDIA was leading the way. So I'm just going to go back and just look at my levels that are provided everybody, and these are the things that I'm going to take. I talk a lot on the voice. So AMD, our levels were 178.29 and 179.21. So when those levels are breaking out, especially when the market is so strong, and I keep repeating the breakout on SPY QQQ, you long it, right? So you long any of those tech stocks, and they worked out, right? So we had a flow on AMD, a flow on NVIDIA, so they worked out. So AMD was another one, good one for the community today. So last one I'm going to talk about is SMCI, which is the last one of those, last one of those strong names, which it was lagging. When AMD and NVIDIA was moving, it was lagging. But later in the day, it broke out of our pivots, right? Our pivots were 995 and 1K. So the trade there was the breakout of 1K middle of the day. So you see how it's pulling back to 3450 and breaking out of that pivot. That's where you take long. And I did mention everyone the relative strength. 1030 was my first target, 1050 was my next target. We did not meet the second target, but you still made, if you risk, got 1000 or you risk the clouds, you still made $20-30 decently on SMCI, right? It was this 1000 breakout, and there was a nice little pattern here, which is a breakout pattern that I teach. If you draw it like this, so it's a nice little pattern, this kind of a flag, cup, whatever you want to call it, but the time to long was here, not here. Remember, you need to have most probable entry. You don't need the lowest entry. Let's look at our Tesla in the community today. So let's see what happened. What was the plan with Tesla? When was the right time to long Tesla? So Tesla, 163, 165, 165 was the main level on Tesla today. So basically I had told everyone that no longs as long as 165 is rejected. So when 165 was regained with the market, that's when I told everyone risk area is 164.70 if you want to try long, right? So then it moved, because you see there was this downtrend line breakout. That's what you need, and then there was this flag breakout. So this is the highest probability entry, not this, because this can easily turn into a bear trend. You could easily be stopped out here. Now if you want an entry here for long, what you do is you use, when it was pushing over here, then when it was pushing here, I told that use 164.70 risk, right? That was at 10 a.m. So 164.70 never broke down of the risk I gave, and then it pushed all day. So just wanted to show you how you have to have the highest probability entries. You don't really need the cheapest entries on a long trade specifically, because when the system is turning bullish, that's when you want to long, and that's how you want to find a risk level, which in this case was low of this candle, 164.70, when you are longing around here 165s, risking 80-90 cents to make like $3-4. Let's do a quick recap of Disney. So what was the plan on Disney? So for Disney, it was a short today. So how was a Disney short? Let's look at it. So you see that I said 122 gave up. It's a short. So the reason Disney was short, because there was a news and support was 122, pivot was 122.75. Then it gives up that, then it's a short. It tries to push here over the clouds, right? But at that time, you can either get out, but then you get back in when it's breaking the 122 again, because there was an event, and once that 122 is broken again, then it's all day fader. So just understand that it was a short. Once it breaks, right, goes to 121.36, it's coming back, that is fine. If it's holding here, you get out, but when it breaks 122 again, that's when you short again. So that was Disney today. So next one we're going to recap is ULTA. So ULTA was not on our watch list, but it came later in the day. So we were watching ULTA today. So that what's it doing? And I mentioned on the voice that it is heavy, it has room to 450, then it pushed to that 450 level or psychological level. We were watching for a curl as well. I was watching if it can curl over the clouds, maybe give us a curl, but it never curled, right? 450 was a buyer, so I was watching for later for a curl. But you know, if you see that my comments on the trading floor, I continuously posted that how ULTA is still heavy. You know, it was like heavy all day. So see, ULTA failed to curl, no buyers, right? And then it broke 450, then fades more. I said it fades more tomorrow, and then it went to 440s under 450s, right? There was no curl, right? They tried to, you know, this was a wrong alert there, but there was never a curl. I said there's nothing too low, more lows after hour because there's a daily chart has a gap, right? So that was not a bad midday scalp. Every time it bounces to this 512 clouds, you could easily short it and scalp it. So you see those kind of the opportunities you need to find. I mean, there's a gap fill is probably at 427s. Maybe we see that soon before it bounces, and it'll be on our day 2 tomorrow for sure. All right, let's look at spot. So spot was, what was spot? Spot was a morning amateur move short, but after that it was, you know, long or leave it alone. So my plan on spot was simple, right? It was extended. I'm watching for B minus short scalps versus the resistance 28.50. So spot initially rejected that 28.50, so it was a B minus short, and I said it will pull down to 277 first 50 on a B minus short. Now what's a B minus short? B minus short is you're shorting against the trend. It's low, you cannot risk too much. It's still bullish, you know, it's against the trend just for a scalp, and it did fade from that 280 resistance to 279. You know, there was a fade to scalp in the morning, but then it has 512 cloud, you step away, right? So I said it's a C minus short now, just to make sure nobody is just shorting it again. I did not long it, but because it was all day facing that resistance. Look here, goes up, resistance, down, again to the resistance, down, and it made a nice breakout end of the day when I sent the price alert that's breaking out. From that breakout, it pushed another $2-3, right? So this is something, you know, you need to watch how the things move. The morning flush holding 512s, push back, so you can clearly see the resistance here. So understand this, very important to understand the move and the breakout. This is the patterns I teach, end of the day patterns on spot. That was the breakout. Next one I'm going to talk about is MU, which was our day 2. So let's go over sheet. Our MU over day 2 level was 123, support was 121.80, 120.90, and again this comes to our semiconductors breaking out, right? So MU was strong because our semiconductors were breaking. You know, it was over our pivots. You simply have to look at the pivots. That's why we have it on day 2. Lily was a day 2. This was a day 2. You see how it pushed to a 123 breakout, and it continued to push towards all-time high. Daily is bullish, 1 hour is bullish, you know, and that's it. You know, this was a nice day, all day trend. And I told everybody to lock some at the all-time high resistance and then see if it breaks all-time highs. And it is breaking all-time highs. It's gapping after hours, maybe goes tomorrow. Today was one of those bullish days, guys. You pick anything and that worked. And definitely it was not a day to short. So now I'm going to discuss few of the news plays. So in our community, we have the few news sources, news breaking alert, voice alert. You know, you can see the news on the floor, which gives us news all day. And there were two news plays today, which we really nailed it. So para news came out, and then I alerted my community about the news that, you know, they rejected a 26 billion offer, right? So the point is the market cap is 8 billion and they rejected a 26 billion offer. That doesn't make sense. Even if it's barely correct, the stock should fly, right? I even tweeted about it. Let's see if I can show you that. When I tweeted about that, you know, a lot of my Twitter followers got that trade as well. So you see there what I said. So I said management offer 26 billion, market cap 8 billion, stock should fly if that's the case. And look what, stock went flying. When I sent that 1240, the stock went all the way to 120, you know, sorry, not 120, stock went all the way to 1380s. And we just don't do it blindly, right? We watch the price action, we watch the breakouts. Look at this breakout that happened over the pre-market highs, breakout over opening price, all day bullish long. You can see here, I told my community that offer is much more than the market cap. I alerted the news. That was the breakout, and great news trade. So that's how when you trade news, you still watch the technicals, you still risk small, you watch the tape, and you know, that's how you trade the news, because you don't go crazy. News plays usually you size 1/3, 1/4 because it can easily pull back. But when you see breakouts happening, then you know that it's going to go higher. Based upon those breakout, you take a starter, you add into the breakout, use the 10-minute candle lows as your risk, and you could easily trade. Para today was a nice winning trade for us in the community. The other example of a news play was Boeing. So Boeing had a news. So what was the news on Boeing? So Boeing came out with a bad news, and it was, you know, after that news, let me show you, if I can show you where the Boeing news was. Let's see here. It was somewhere here, right? Let me see. So anyways, I can't find it, but the point is, you see the 2 news alerts paid for the annual sub for the community because of the value we provide. So after the bad news came out, it break our pivots. What were our pivots? Support pivots. Boeing support pivot was 188.28, 189. So all those supports were breaking down. Sorry, not that one. Was 187 area, that was gone. The yesterday's lows was gone. So it was just a short, all day short. After the news, look at the volume. So you follow the technicals when you short the news. You know, you don't short blindly. If the support is breaking, you stay short, you take a short. This support is breaking, to take short. This support breaking, you add some more and ride the short down, right? Look at the 1 hour support breaking. So that's how you trade the news, right? You do not trade it like blindly. You let your technicals show you that yes, you know, the news has some follow through. You know, always use the technicals to trade the news. All right, I'm going to end the day talking about the SPY breakout we had in the morning. See, you need to understand all these, you know, all these patterns, all these the patterns that we see on the breakout. I share everything before and after. There's never a hindsight from me. So if you see that I shared this setup in the morning, I said this is the breakout I'm looking for. And as soon as I say that, the breakout happens. Look here, boom, the breakout happens, boom. You know, my calls ended up going 80-90%. Look here, my calls were 70%. QQQ calls were 70% there, right there. So this is the breakout, and it helps us trade everything else. So it's a simple concept. You want to identify these patterns, you trade these patterns, and you then, you know, you trade those, and then you learn those patterns, and then you will get to know how to trade the market. So I show you every day. So this breakout helped us trade everything: Meta, AMD, NVIDIA, AVGO. Pick one, right? So today's video should be very important to how to trade the market breakouts and how to, you know, so you understand that. And it's right in front of you. I have shown this hundreds of times. It's not the first time I'm showing a before and after on a breakout. I literally say something, and then afterwards you see the effect. And you can always add these retests. So I added this retest on QQQ. That's when my calls went 70%. I didn't add the initial breakout, but I added the retest, and then it kind of worked out. And then end of the day, SPY also broke, you know, so big breakout. Then SPY broke this 3450, good fade, you know, 512, 3450. That was a good short scalps end of the day when we broke down here. So these are again with the Ripster Cloud repeatable system. So that was it for today, guys. Superb day, great day. Everybody did really good. You know, all we need to do is when there are no setups, we stay calm. We do not risk too much. When there are setups, we attack. When there's a trend day, we attack, and we trade with full confidence on those plays. All right, guys, thank you. If you want to trade with us, join our community. The link to the discounts should be in the subscription, so should be in the comments, and I'll see you all tomorrow.